Unlike Entra ID roles, Azure Resource roles aren't automatically integrated with PIM. If you want to manage Azure Resource Access with just-in-time controls, approval workflows, and auditing, you'll need to manually onboard Azure resources into PIM. This isn't a one-size-fits-all process. You'll have to onboard them at the right scope level, depending on how broadly or narrowly you want to apply access governance. That could be at the management group, subscription, resource group, or even individual resource level. Now, let's switch over to the Microsoft Entra Admin Center and walk through how you can onboard Azure resources step by step. You'll learn how to bring those roles under PIM control and start applying the same powerful security measures you've already used for Entra ID roles. To onboard Azure roles at a specific scope, whether that's a management group, subscription, resource group, or individual resource, you'll start from the Microsoft Entra Admin Center. Once you're there, navigate to Identity Governance and then select Privileged Identity Management, PIM, from the left-hand menu. Next, under the Manage section, click on Azure Resources. This takes you to the screen shown in your image, where you'll begin the process of bringing Azure Resource roles under just-in-time control. From this page, you can assign, monitor, and manage Azure roles with full governance, including approval workflows, notifications, and access reviews. As you proceed, make sure you're selecting the correct scope for your use case. For example, if your goal is to govern access across an entire environment, choose a management group. If you want to control access for a particular project or team, a subscription or resource group might be more appropriate. For this walkthrough, go ahead and select subscription as your scope so we can move forward with onboarding Azure roles at that level. To move forward with onboarding, go ahead and select the appropriate management group, and then choose the specific subscription you want to manage using PIM. This step is crucial because all the role assignments and governance settings you configure will apply only within the scope you select. Once you've picked the correct subscription, click on Manage Resource. This will take you into the dedicated settings for that subscription, where you can start applying just-in-time access controls, approval workflows, and audit policies for all Azure roles under that scope. After selecting your subscription and clicking Manage Resource, your next step is to go to the Manage menu on the left-hand side and click on Settings. This is where you'll configure how PIM behaves for Azure Resource roles under that specific scope. By accessing these settings, you're laying the foundation for just-in-time activation, approval requirements, notifications, and all the governance controls you want to apply to Azure roles at the subscription level. Once you select the subscription scope, you'll be presented with a full list of roles that can now be managed through Privileged Identity Management for that subscription. This list includes both built-in Azure roles and, importantly, custom roles as well. This is a major win for your security strategy. With PIM now supporting custom Azure roles, you're no longer limited to built-in role definitions. You have the flexibility to manage precisely tailored roles with the same powerful controls: just-in-time activation, approval workflows, MFA enforcement, and detailed auditing. This enhancement gives you full control and consistency in how you secure all privileged access, even across roles you've customized to match specific operational or compliance needs. To continue securing your Azure environment with PIM, go ahead and search for the Owner role in the list of available roles under your selected subscription. The Owner role holds significant privileges, so it's critical to bring it under just-in-time governance. Once you've located it in the list, simply click on Owner to begin configuring it with PIM settings. This step will allow you to enforce activation controls, approval workflows, and auditing for anyone who needs elevated access as an owner. Now you're on the role settings page for the Owner role, And you'll notice that the configuration experience here is identical to what you've already seen earlier, like when you worked with the AI Administrator role. If you need a quick refresher on how to set up things like just-in-time access, MFA, approval workflows, and notifications, feel free to revisit that earlier lecture in this course. To avoid repeating the same walkthrough, here's the key takeaway. Once you know how to configure role settings for one role, you can confidently manage them all. Whether it's owner, contributor, or a custom role, the interface and options remain consistent. Once you've made any updates to the settings for the owner role, go ahead and click the X at the top right corner of the screen. This will take you back to the Manage menu, where you can continue onboarding or configuring additional roles within your subscription. Now that you've successfully configured the role settings, it's time to move on to the next important step, assigning the role to users. Your role is now governed by just-in-time access policies, and assigning it ensures that only the right people can activate it when needed. To do this, go to the Manage menu on the left and click on Assignments. This is where you'll define who is eligible or active for the role and under what conditions. You're now putting your configuration into action, linking people to privilege securely and intentionally. Now you're looking at a familiar screen, the same assignments interface you saw earlier when working with Entra ID roles. This is where you'll begin assigning users to the owner role under the selected Azure subscription, using all the governance policies you just configured. To get started, simply click on Add Assignments. From here, you'll select the user, define whether their access will be eligible or active, and apply time-bound or permanent settings as needed. You're now connecting secure configuration with real-world access. At this stage, you'll go ahead and select the role as Owner, since that's the one you just finished configuring with custom PIM settings. Then, click on Select Members to choose the user who will be assigned to this role. For simplicity and consistency, you're assigning the same user as you did in the previous example. Once you've made your selection, simply click Next to proceed. You're now just a few clicks away from enabling secure, just-in-time access to this powerful Azure role. You'll notice this screen looks familiar. It's the same assignment interface you explored earlier when assigning Entra ID roles. On this page, you're deciding how access to the owner role will be granted. You'll begin by choosing the assignment type. Select Eligible if you want the user to request access when they need it, which supports just-in-time governance. Choose Active if the user should get immediate, always-on access, only recommended in very specific use cases. You can also configure a time-bound assignment, which is great for temporary roles or project-based access. In this example, let's keep it set to Eligible, and then go ahead and click Assign. Always remember, how you configure this should align with your organization's security policies. Some roles may need stricter controls, while others can be more flexible. There's no one-size-fits-all, so tailor these settings thoughtfully for each scenario. You can now see Glenn Maxwell listed under eligible assignments for the Azure Security Demo subscription. That confirms the assignment has been made correctly using PIM. Here's something important for you to understand. While the owner role is now managed through PIM at the subscription level, this governance does not automatically cascade down to resource groups or individual resources within that subscription. If you want to apply the same PIM controls at those lower scopes, you'll need to repeat the onboarding process for each of them individually. Why does this matter? This is one of the reasons identity administrators often find PIM onboarding a bit time-consuming. It requires deliberate scope-by-scope planning. So, it's important for you to be strategic, decide which roles in your environment truly need PIM, then determine at which scope levels, management group, subscription, resource group, or resource, you want to apply governance. With this understanding, you're now equipped to implement PIM effectively across your Azure environment, securely, intentionally, and at scale.